Welcome to U.S. Immigration TV. Well, it's official. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were sworn in as president and vice president, and the Trump era of strict immigration enforcement and the demonization of immigrants is now over. We can now look forward to positive changes in immigration laws, and Biden has now submitted his proposed immigration reforms to Congress. The U.S. Citizenship Act of 2021, which I will go through in this video. Now, in previous videos on Biden's immigration reforms, I had based it on the Democrat platform as well as interviews of Biden and Harris. I've seen that those videos have hundreds of thousands of views, so I know you are vitally interested in what is going on, and I am grateful for all of you who have viewed those videos and have subscribed. But now we have the proposal itself, and I'm going to go through that. But I want to give a disclaimer before we start. This is only a proposal now, so while we're excited, let's not get too excited yet. It must still pass both the House and the Senate and then be signed by the president. In the meantime, it could be subject to changes such as amendments, deletions, etc. So kind of like don't call tomorrow asking to sign up. There's nothing to file for right now, but we're monitoring the developments and we will keep you informed. Now, here are some of the highlights of that bill in its present form. First of all, immediate green cards for DACA and TPS recipients. DACA, Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, TPS, Temporary Protected Status. Then they could be eligible for U.S. citizenship 3 years later. There will be an 8-year pathway for citizenship for the approximate 11 million undocumented immigrants who are now living in the U.S. The basic requirements are it would require people to register with the U.S. government, and they're going to be in some temporary status while they'll have work authorizations and possibly permission to travel outside the U.S. and return on advance parole. They will have background checks, criminal background checks. They will have to pay back taxes, and they will also have to prove that they were in the U.S. as of January 1, 2021. They can then apply for green cards 5 years after they've been in this temporary legal status, and then U.S. citizenship 3 years later. So what can you do now? I would say you should already start gathering your documents to show you are in the U.S. and keep them safe, such as your bank accounts, rental or lease agreements, your phone bills, etc. Now, I previously did a video on preparing for Biden's immigration reforms, which I provided more details of what to do. And that is very appropriate and relevant in connection with these immigration reforms. Other parts of this new proposal are allowing certain immigrants who were deported but had already been living in the U.S. for at least 3 years before they were deported to return to the U.S. and be reunited with their families. Obviously, it would depend on the reasons that they were deported. You know, if they were deported, let's say, for committing a felony, they may not be eligible. Another important aspect of this proposed bill is recapturing the unused visas from prior years. Now, before, or the way it was under the system, there was an annual allotment of visas. And if they were not issued during that year, they were lost or forfeited. You know, kind of like no rollover minutes on your phone plan. Now, if the visas are not used in the year for which they were allotted, they can roll over to the following year, which means more visas available for people. Another part of the proposal is to increase the number of visas available for family petitions so that more family members can immigrate to the U.S. They will eliminate per country allotment or rations for visas for employment-based petitions, and instead, they will allocate visas based on a first-come, first-served basis. based on the person's priority date, when they first started their perm or labor certification. Now, this could benefit people from India or China, where there's a longer line or backlog for visas and may cause people from other countries, such as the Philippines, to wait longer. For example, right now, people from India have a priority date of 2010 are just now being processed for their green cards, whereas for the Philippines, the priority date's current. So if a Filipino or person from some other country has a priority date after 2010, it could be the Indians may be able to go in front of them in the line. And the reason for that is it's just now going to be first come, first served, no allocations per country. It's just going to be one big pot or pool for employment base. Another part of this proposal is they will not count derivative spouses and children of people being petitioned through employment-based against the annual allotment or quota of employment-based visas. Now, how is this significant? It could increase the number of visas available for employment-based petitions. Let's say a worker has a spouse and 3 children. Well, that worker would then be using up 5 visas for himself, the spouse, and the children. Under this new way, it would only count for 1 visa for the employment-based categories. In other words, even though there will be 5 people getting the visas, it will only count as 1 visa against the annual allotment of employment-based visas. Another part of this proposal is work permits for the spouses and children of temporary work visa holders, such as H-4 spouses of H-1B visa holders. Now, previously, Trump had tried to stop this or prevent H-4 spouses from getting these work permits. Another important part of this proposed bill is the elimination of the 3- and the 10-year bar who have been in the U.S. and out of status. What had happened was people who had overstayed their visas for 6 months or a year, and then they departed, could be banned from coming back to the U.S. for between 3 and 10 years. So with this change, maybe there will no longer be a need for a provisional waiver. Another proposal is the government will clear the visa backlogs for family and employment-based cases. And this could mean that the government will infuse thousands and thousands of additional visas so that the current lines or waiting times are eliminated. As I said before, people should file family petitions in anticipation of this bill. You know, for example, F4, where there's a 20-year waiting time. If somebody files it, now they're suddenly going to infuse thousands and thousands of visas. Maybe the wait will be a lot shorter. So make sure you take advantage of that. Another part of this immigration bill or proposal is to increase the number of immigration judges to reduce court backlogs and the waiting times it takes for a person to have their day in court. Now, there is a very good chance that the Democrat-controlled House will pass it. It's still unclear what the chances are in the Senate, but I'm hoping that in this Biden era, where he is speaking about unity and an end to this uncivil war, that the GOP or Republicans will start cooperating and working together with the Democrats for immigration reform. I mean, there have been a number of past efforts of immigration reform which did not go through, such as during Obama. But let's keep waiting and watching. Now, I see this immigration bill providing excellent opportunity for many people out there. Like, for example, there are many people who are unable to apply for green cards in the U.S. under existing programs, such as family petitions or employment sponsorship, either because they're out of status, they had entered the U.S. without inspection, they don't have the benefit of 245I or the Life Act, and instead they're required to return to their home countries. And I know the fear and anxiety people have of having to leave the U.S. and apply for their visas abroad. Therefore, even if you are now under petition by either a family member or an employer, you should consider this as an option. Because under immigration law, a person can apply for a green card in as many different ways as are available to them all at the same time. So even though you may be under petition by an employer or a brother or sister or as a married child, but yet you may not be eligible to adjust status in the US, maybe this immigration bill and its proposal and its pathway to citizenship could be an alternative, allowing you to apply for a green card in the US. Now, amnesty and immigration reform is a developing story, and there's going to be much more to report as this bill winds its way through Congress. And I will provide updates on the details as to who's included, what are the requirements, etc. And I know that there are going to be lots and lots of developments with immigration reform under Biden. And I also know that so many of you have come to the US or are outside the US wanting to make a better life for yourselves, wanting to make a better life for your family, especially your children, to work hard and to contribute to the US. You've lived in the shadows. You have been living in anxiety, especially under Trump, who was demonizing you, making immigrants into, coming to the US either to take jobs away from Americans or they're coming here just to live off of the taxpayers with welfare. That's not immigrants. Those are not the immigrants I know. I have been practicing immigration law for decades, and what I see are immigrants wanting to work hard, contribute to the US, pay their taxes, and just simply live the American dream. Let's hope that this immigration reform becomes law, and all of you who have waited so long can finally have a pathway to both legalization and US citizenship. So again, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I'm Michael Gurfinkel, and this is US Immigration TV.